Catalyst Fund is on Cardano. As the title says, there's around $250,000 equivalent of ADA available. ADA is the currency for on Cardano. So, without further ado, we're just going to be reviewing some of the proposals which have been put forward by members of the community, and the idea is that as the stakepool operators on Cardano process transactions, part of those transaction fees go towards a treasury. And part of those funds in the treasury is where this $250,000 comes from. And it goes towards actually just funding towards stuff that the community propose and vote on. And so and the $250,000 actually will gradually increase. The next one actually might be $500,000, and that will be starting in January. So we are just gonna now go through the 29 left. So far we have sort of gone over the others. I don't know how many. Basically, out of
we have 30 left. 29 now.
Yeah, 29 now. Yeah. Okay, so let's just jump straight into it.
VDP.
So, yeah, do you want to read this one now?
World Best Publisher. Ooh, so good. Problem. Scientific discourse is broken. Most publications are wrong. Publishing companies are obsolete. Intermediaries. And most people are left out. Okay. Solution: a sidechain to store all types of intellectual property in encrypted form. Oh, sorry. Okay. I didn't grasp that one, so I have hard to give an opinion.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's basically talking about publishing in general, right? And then second to that, it's talking about, I suppose, the scientific discourse, or like, is it like a journal, like scientific journals? It's not entirely clear because, they start the problem statement, with, I forgot to start the timer. Yeah, but I think publishing in general definitely needs to be sort of rethought, right? Because I actually have a little bit of experience in this. My sister and I tried to look into publishing just simple like children's books, and it's not as straightforward or as easy as you think. There's like a whole bunch of middleman agents. You need to get an agent to then be able to get access to publishers, and it's a whole thing. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm reading it, and like most publications are wrong. Like wrong in what way? What we are fixing it? Because when he gives a solution, a sidechains to store all types of intellectual property. So like I don't see what's wrong with
the problem. I think what this person might be alluding to is when you have things like people who get tenure or submissions to journals, whether like scientific journals, they tend to be sort of influenced by, in a way, the gamification that already exists, right? Whether it's the source of their funding, or if a particular topic is hot, then that's what people sort of do work around and sort of give submissions around. So I feel like maybe that's what they're talking about in terms of sort of social stuff affecting the quality of work. Because if you think of scientific approach, it's about like facts and about objectivity. But then if we're injecting sort of social opinions into work which should be objective, then it's affecting it negatively. So I think that's what they mean by most publications are wrong.
I still didn't like. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I think we can skip because there is nothing I can add here.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Cool. I think big picture here, what this person, I feel, or I think this person is trying to arrive at. Yeah, I think the problem statement has been written quite emotionally, as opposed to logically, ironically, because this person is sort of talking about, I suppose, publications which should be objective and logical, injecting emotion and sort of irrationality into works which shouldn't, be led by that. Yeah, I agree. They are obsolete intermediaries, and the nature of the blockchain and crypto, with incentives and so on, creates an environment where we can really rethink this. Yeah, so I think big picture, the idea of having like side chains which off chain store intellectual property, especially ones which are contested, is really quite important, because
so it's like audible in a textual form, but untampered.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. But actually, I think a good example here is during the election, in America recently, there was someone said something, and then immediately, like dictionary.com or something, or the Merriam-Webster dictionary website went and changed the definition of the word. Again, coming back to this whole idea of having an objective reality. If you can just quickly go and change what a word means because it's a centralized environment, then that really affects the integrity of information. Yeah. So yeah, I think big picture, yeah, there's definitely value here, and in a way you can kind of do this by using metadata already, like on chain. I suppose maybe you don't want it to be on chain, because then it's just a whole bunch of bloat. But then, like, for example, if it's something as important as like the Satoshi white paper, then perhaps you want the equivalent of those to actually be on chain and really secure and verified a whole bunch of times over. So yeah. Okay, so this is me reading this one. So from Razor Block, go away. There we go. Streamlining Cardano communication. Oh, sorry,
Problem.
Just dropped a bunch of bottles. Right, yeah. Problem. Currently, Cardano community provides an enormous amount of content in relation to Cardano. We have multiple outlets of information. Describe your solution. I propose creating a central location of information within all Cardano wallet platforms using an off-chain data aggregation server. Thoughts? Initially, like I'm like, oh, centralization, central location. What? No, I don't like it. But I think what this person is kind of getting at, if you look at, I forgot to start the timer again. If you look at I suppose portfolio apps, they have like a news stream. I think Blockfolio have one, and they call it something specific. I think that's what this person is kind of trying to arrive at, but having that news stream be, coming from an off-chain data aggregation server, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't think it's not necessary. When I feel like Cardano, we want to have decentralization, so everybody can have their own source, and you just we like, yeah, the information comes from Cardano Foundation, from the community, different people. Then you're gonna have podcasts, and I think the central location, if we put too much to the centralized person, then he's gonna curate what information source he's gonna use to give out. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. And I think big picture, the idea here, as you just said, is to optimize, as we've already covered, even like with the Spokra thing, the government versus governance. The idea is not to go the government way, which is centralized, it's governance. So create the tools for this to be able to flourish in a decentralized state, because the problem that you're addressing, communication, is super important, right? But then how do we streamline it in a decentralized manner, right? With you can have all sorts of incentives to have people off chain and save stuff on off chain, basically. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then actually on top of that, you could have like proof of merit, right? In terms of being able to weigh the quality of the different sources, etc. You go on.
Yeah, you already mentioned the kind of more to go more into detail to see if they're gonna implement what you just said, that everybody can like add on top of that, so they don't curate it. It's just kind of, but then it's not centralized. Maybe it's offloaded from centralized perspective, but all the input is decentralized.
Perhaps, yeah. I was just going to say that then. That's centralized, but yeah, good point. Right. The next one. Here we go. This is you.
Cardano Community Council, CCC. Problem. Community-driven initiatives and priorities can't rely on Cardano Foundation, yet decentralized groups lack the structured organization. Groups lack the focus and a structured organization provides. So yeah, some depends, but most likely yes, because we are just a bunch of people who don't know what to do. Solution. The CCC will be transparent, elected group formed to coordinate community-driven adoption initiatives and actions through target committees. Ooh, slippery slope there. So yeah, we don't like this kind of, we can't rely on Cardano Foundation, so we're gonna create the Cardano Foundation. It's kind of measured like that.
Yeah, what I kind of get from this is that they're trying to, in a way, decentralize the functions of the Cardano Foundation. So
technically, we want more of these, but
the thing is, how do you do it in a decentralized way? Because in a way, the argument here is centralization is efficient and decentralization is not. Right? Because it says, yet decentralized groups lack the focus a structured organization provides. That's basically the argument there. In terms of the solution, I think any sort of solution like this needs to be transparent, right? But then, as you said, it gets into a slippery slope once you're electing groups or people to coordinate this.
This is very hard proposal. Like it technically it is very fundamental and powerful, but so whoever is interested in governance, who wants to go into the roots, has to literally go into all the details they put out and see if this group or this whatever they provide is something like to work with.
Yeah, and also I feel like what's important here is to actually understand that in implementing it, things like as I said before, merit, like proof of merit and stuff, would play quite a central role in all of this. What's weird about this is I could have sworn I got an email notification that they had withdrawn this specific application, but I don't know, I could be wrong. But anyway, okay, cool. So yeah, big picture, super important in terms of the core of the community, but it needs to be decentralized. Like that's
one more thing. I think this is actually not addressing the challenge either. Compared to, we want more developers and entrepreneurs, but we don't want entrepreneurs to come here to think they can take control or like create it. We are for this challenge. I feel like we want to build on the things, and
I mean, in a way, I would push back a bit on that, because whenever you think of an entrepreneur or developer, basically anyone looking to build something of value on somewhere, what they want is assurances that this thing is actually going to be stable, right? And something like this, if implemented well, it would mean basically like governance at the core level has been sorted out in a really lovely way where, you know, incentives are, you know, aligned and, you know, there's a great sort of structure.
Yeah, so a trusted mechanism on like
exactly
like social.
Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Boom. Next one. This is me, I believe. So Franklin is suggesting or proposing decentralized support. Problem. End user. Wait, let's start. End user gets scammed too often, does not have a place to solve daily issues. Most of people not have the knowledge to solve wallet issues. Okay. Solution. A decentralized platform that bring together expert people willing to help and users needing that help. So yeah, end users needing that help. Okay.
Like call support. Hey, dude, I want my money. Exactly. I sent it, but I don't know where it is.
Yeah, I need an Explorer that is easy to use. Yeah. So this
is a quite good idea. Because I think about the average user who doesn't even know what is a blockchain, and then kids or whoever sends him ADA and are like, I want to use this to push something or send this or pay for something, and he has like a actual place to call because the people like email or maybe or just a call. Hey, I got this, and something they can trust that they are not getting scammed. So
yeah. So proof of merit, for example, you know, being, you know, quite core to this. Yeah. So yeah, what I was going to say is, I agree with you. This is actually quite big, and it's kind of linked to the other one, you know, that spoke of like answering questions. You remember that one? The previous proposal, which basically pitched what earn.com was, where, you know, you put in some money, and then, you know, if the person actually sort of responds to you, you then pay them. If they don't respond, you get your money back. So I feel like something like this, they're actually quite, I think, well aligned. If I needed help or whatever, you know, and put in some money, and then, you know, someone helps me out, then you know, that bit of help or whatever, that can go, you know, somewhere into some sort of repository, you know, of like FAQs or something, and, you know, whoever helped me can get rewards, as well as I get a reward for actually, you know, addressing a problem that then gets answered, and then, you know, maybe even get, you know, more rewards further down the line if that solution is sort of referenced a lot, kind of thing. Yeah, cool. So yeah, big picture, this is important, and it has potential, right? Because support is a huge pain point. If we could incentivize support and optimize it, like from incentive standpoint, a lot can be gained from that. This we've already done, so we're gonna close that. Okay. Right. So wait, who read the last one? Yeah, I did. So this is you.
We are a Cardano podcast. The challenge of onboarding the general public is the fact that do not know who or what Cardano is. Okay, wait, did I mess something up? The fact that do not know who or what Cardano is. We are just another tech project. Solution: a video podcast called We Are Cardano Podcast. It aims to put human faces to Cardano by speaking to anyone and everyone in the ecosystem. Okay, so kind of like podcast, but this focus is just like interviewing, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I think the intention, I feel, or think is closer to like the idea of Humans of New York. It's like putting faces to Humans of New York is this project that was started by this photographer where he would go out and just like take portraits of the different people in New York. And he started a blog, and then posting these photos along with an annotation or a caption of something that gives some context to the photo. So I feel like that's the intention here, to sort of put a human face. But then I feel like there's maybe a conflict in saying that, or maybe not, who or what. I suppose what, communicating the difference, that Cardano is compared to like other quote unquote tech projects. That's important. But I suppose also just, interviewing folks and, getting to put names to faces and understanding what the human difference that Cardano is making. I think that in itself could be of value as well. Big picture.
Yeah, definitely. When you read the documentation and stuff, when you go through like cool tokens and read the white paper, you're like, cool tech. But when you don't see the person behind it, you're not likely to get so much attention.
True. Yeah. I think Satoshi might disagree with you on that, but but yeah, cool. Yeah, 100%. The human factor really brings in something. This is me. I was gonna say this is you. Well, it's you, but it's me. Okay. Okay. Cool. Let me just reset this. Done. Start. So Tevo proposes ERP platform for business economics. Problem: a lot of companies use legacy ERP systems. I have no idea what ERP stands for. But
enterprise resource planning.
Okay. Integration and automation take time per company. So enterprise resource planning systems are costly to maintain. So the solution: open source enterprise resource planning platform for dApps, decentralized applications that leverage Cardano products and architecture. The platform is governed by stakeholders. What I get from this is that it is a permissioned chain governed by stakeholders. Am I right in making that assumption?
In a sense, yes.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so is that is that not it, like at the core?
Yeah, I guess if you don't know what is ARP, then you don't have much to say about that. So basically, everything almost that I know is a business is running on one software, which is like, you got sales, you got customers, you got the warehouse, you got finances, you got analytics, you got production, all these, like there are numbers of stuff, and they like build a software to manage all of that thing, and the data warehouse gets very big, and then you need like rules to like manage that. But with the most, like sometimes there is like SQL bases and all kinds of weird stuff. They have Excel between, and this can be quite complicated. And for the newcomers, they usually start with just simply Word documentation. In the mind, you have the process flow and but for the bigger companies, they have like a big system like SAP or like Microsoft, some kind of, I don't know.
Is that what SAP does?
What?
Is that what SAP or SAP does? Because I've seen their logo all over the place. I have no idea. I had no idea what the hell they do. Okay, cool.
So basically, it's like one big system for a company to manage all this stuff, but they all are like they have their own like rules and integrations and stuff. And when you want to communicate with other company, they usually like get together and like figure out, okay, this is my output, this is your input, then we need to map these things. And if somebody changes, then they have to like discuss, hey, I'm gonna change this output, or I always have to keep the output same when I do internally. They have to always like keep it in sync basically. Or sometimes they just send file in the FTP and do like third-party services and all this kind of stuff. So basically it's like a huge thing. And for this, when I see open source, I mean, like, why we building the same wheel again? So let's remove that. So keep it open source. Everybody knows what everybody using, how it works. And blockchain architecture is like is in a way like, I don't have that much experience, but I imagine that if two people are using the same architecture, the same blockchain, the same methods, and they may have different metadata and like the data they store, but when they interact with other, then it's almost seamless. Like, hey, I have these products, you have these products, and when you send, okay, I allow you to see my product prices or this price list, or just like, and then the other person just accepts them. Yeah, okay, I am agree to see them, and it automatically their entire system, like a shop or their backend or whatever, is populated with that information without having to rely too much on the integrations and making it sync, because it's all like in a kind of private off-chain databases, but in the same way built.
Dude, yeah, that makes a bunch of sense. So like basically standardizing standards so that enterprises are able to communicate, create this open source white label solution that companies can just take and like implement in sort of customize in a way that basically is permissioned and off chain, right? And then have this on chain, basically sort of like operate like an intranet, that occasionally connects to the internet, which is, so intranet would be off chain, and then connecting to the internet, which would be on chain, every now and then, to be able to say to talk to a different company kind of thing. Does that sort of summarize it? Okay, yeah. So yeah, that's super, like, really quite valuable big picture, like enabling huge institutions which usually move quite slowly to actually tap into this efficient way of working internally. I think a lot of value could actually be created in that.
But there's one funny thing about this because it's such a big picture. It's like no way you can do it in like few months. Then it starts off very slowly, and my first impression is just to make like snippet of tools. Like, okay, you want to do this internally in your business, okay, but you use your tool, but it's not very well defined or designed. So I just like, you offload to the blockchain, because like, you basically trust that one software and you get one data there. It automates your process, you get much better tooling, and you get your data back to your own system. So it connects with your centralized system, but you then start to having like, okay, this one tool here, maybe somebody else started using it, then he wants that tool, then he, hey, this tool is free, okay, and you gonna start drawing these lines, and eventually it's gonna turn into
the whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah, basically do what Slack did in terms of being able to infiltrate the enterprise. Cool. This is you, Codex. Go for it.
Develop the KEVM and IELE. Problem: the move from Solidity to Bluetooth is a barrier to entry for many developers interested in Cardano. How do we facilitate the transition? So Solidity is Ethereum code, and Bluetooth is Cardano main Haskell kind of variation of code. Describe your solution. Allocate treasury funds to revitalize development of the KEVM and IELE frameworks. Okay, so they want money to basically. Isn't that already like done by AOG or something, or I'm like missing the point, or these are the guys who they already talked to in the like monthly summary.
Or runtime verification, possibly, yeah, because it says relevant experience runtime verification, possibly. But
Regardless
why?
list.
Yeah, but why it's on here? I'm not.
Because it doesn't feel like it should be a community or like decentralized fund or
exactly. Yeah. This goes back to this conversation which we've had before with the Sebastian thing. Like, should this be coming for funds in the community fund? So I feel like this is the value is quite obvious, and not just for Ethereum, but also beyond that. What the what IELE or the K framework is going to be able to enable is like any programming language can actually be able to tap into Cardano and be able to run on it. So the value is super huge. I'm not entirely sure why this is on here, and given that there's already been work on it, and anyway, so I think value is obvious. Questions as to whether it sort of belongs in Catalyst.
I feel like it's gonna be some kind of marketing trick that it is supposed to be like that, and then the owners of who own the biggest stack gonna vote for it, and it's gonna get like out, and then people are gonna see, oh, we had this proposal from the community, and now look at this is like a unicorn. Like I don't know, maybe
probably but yeah. So it's like a plant, they've planted like a project there, which then will get a whole bunch of funding, and then be like the poster child for the success of Catalyst. Possibly. I mean, that conspiracy theory does make sense. But so I think this is me. So ICO or ICO Research Group proposes decentralized funding report. Problem statement. See PDF attached. Okay. Decentralized funding is a highly complicated system / process. Yeah. And we still need to figure out how to make it all work. Okay. So what's the solution? We were involved in a smaller project before, which worked very well, and we can write out a report to learn from it. Okay, this could be presented in a much better way, right? Because this person is assuming that people are gonna want to actually tap on or follow links, as opposed to actually just make up their mind from a problem statement that is actually communicated succinctly. Because in a way, they're trying to cheat by saying, have a look at this PDF, which is, I don't know, it could be 100 pages long, right? As opposed to the concise requirement of what the problem statement requires. And the same thing goes for the solution. Like, what are your thoughts?
It's gonna capture the people who are like feeling like, I didn't get funding, I need this group to like vote for this group, so maybe I get funded next time. Or I don't know. I personally feel like, okay, research is very good to have, like, because this is a complex thing we're doing here. We're like giving access, giving the control to people with no skill of like doing this job. Like, this is actually a job usually, and now how are their ideas and their like thinking affecting the entire process? Research about that is like Yeah, I don't know. What to say? Like, is this a problem? Yeah, kind of it is, but this should be played out, should be researched. Yes, but the way they like you said, the solution. This solution doesn't help me. Like,
Yeah, so like this, like the presentation of the problem statement and the solution sucks. If you look at it through the prism of the voting Catalyst app, or Catalyst voting app, sorry, where all that is presented, is these two things pretty much, right? And then you have to tap on a whole other place to go to a different place, which there's not much structure, right? So people cognitively already like, oh, I'm not sure whether I want to go into an environment where there's not a lot of structure and there's a lot of information, right? So information overload and cognitive overload as well. So so in an effort to sort of try and figure out what the big pictures zoomed out of this is, I think in line with what you just said, feedback is really really quite interesting, right? So, and I think whether a project worked or did not work, having being able to like go back and comb through and figure out why it worked, kind of thing, would be interesting. Like how detailed they would get, I don't know, but I think for me, what would have made a great pitch here is framing this in a way that sort of enable to empower the community to actually like feedback, as opposed to having a centralized company or group of people be the ones who then get paid to then go out there with a magnifying glass to try and figure out what worked. So does that make sense? Like building something that people can then feed back into.
mm-hmm.
To me, that would make a lot more sense. Basically, again, like other proposals, create a better feedback loop. In this case, the feedback loop is around the proposal presentation and the whole process of it.
Yeah. This proposal gives off the vibe that do not vote here yes or no if you don't know what you're talking about, and abstain it. And then if you're like are into the research and you say like, oh, initial coin offering research group, okay, but then and getting this, then you probably gonna go into it. I don't know, just do feels like centralized work or branding work, but instead we should say the problem is kind of worded, but the solution would be better, and with the picture maybe also like categorize what you're doing, what you're looking at, what feedback you're gonna give, and
yeah. Okay, so this is
DeFi Hackathon. Okay. Mm-hmm. I like hackathons. Problem: Ethereum has developed an ecosystem in the DeFi space, and their business models are choking on the gas cost. Need them on Cardano. So the problem is that we need them on Cardano. The solution: developers, project managers, UI designers, and that designers team together to solve a variety of DeFi building block type challenges. Okay, so cool. Basically, when we talked about before this, I'm gonna get the animation. This is the version of I'm not gonna create an hackathon. I'm gonna create an engine to create hackathons. So, and if you're gonna, I'm actually interested to read what ideas he has and what kind of projects or models is gonna present. How are they rewarded? Where they get these entrepreneurs? Because it lot comes down. Where do you find these people? And I think it's cool thing. It's an engine what just gonna keep building themselves.
So it's about figuring out once you get them, yeah, as you said, like getting them is super important. And you want to optimize for diversity there, because people coming from a different perspective or angle will have different problems and different ways of looking at the world. So I think that's actually quite important. But yeah, once you have them, figure out how to actually incentivize them, in terms of wanting to actually participate in a hackathon, right? Figuring out in a way the gamification, in terms of how do you get people together to go out, whether it's over an hour or a few hours, a day, to actually have a hackathon around a particular problem. And once you solve that problem, because obviously in this context a bunch of people are going to have contributed, right? Do you then just give the prize to one person when a whole bunch of people have contributed, kind of thing? Or because I think the best sort of environment is to create an environment where people kind of like feed off each other, right? Like someone comes with this idea, someone takes that and does something with it, that way, as opposed to kind of being siloed and being like, okay, I'm going to just keep working, in a tunnel and then present my thing at the end, right? To me, like that doesn't, it's not really decentralized, it's not in the decentralized spirit. So I think it matters, how one thinks about incentivization in an environment where it's like a free fall, where, someone's just sort of riffing off and sort of like building off, one idea that, the other person sort of brought to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, the engine idea, I quite like that that analogy. So yeah, big picture, important, just figuring out the actual structure of it. Paul proposes Credmark credit score. So no financial system can exist without credit. Okay. Credit cannot be extended without credit data. Crypto credit doesn't exist. I like what he's attempted to do here, which is sort of like have these logical statements, that sort of like connect, with each other. Although for it to work, you need to, in a way, agree with the first statement, which I don't particularly. It's like saying no financial system can exist without, I don't know, tax or something, or no state can exist without tax. Anyway, okay, so solution. Credmark uses crypto credit events to produce credit data for blockchain addresses. This provides credit for both DeFi and CeFi products.
I don't know. Yeah, the problem statement gives off, like, puts me off. Like, yeah, okay, maybe it can't. Maybe really it can't be without credit, because money makes work go around. But I don't want to read that in the words, and then saying that, okay, you can't do anything without credit, I'm gonna give you credit, and then saying that we just provide both for DeFi and CeFi. So why do you, like, so basically you come here to ask to funding, to give funding, but in your lenses, through your lenses. So this is the vibe I get it, and I don't know what is being addressed here, what is done.
I feel like a different proposal actually like frames this a lot better. Liquid, right? Where actually being able to monetize your own credit, right?
Also,
basically your trustworthiness. But I think, but I don't know. I think the way that Liquid presented it is a lot better, right? Yeah, because in a way, starting out the problem statement by saying you cannot exist without debt, right? Because in a way, credit, from my perspective, credit is debt, right? And to sort of to think in that way comes, I think is kind of counter to crypto, where the idea is actually to get people to the point where they're actually not in deficit, but where people actually have assets, right?
It's
without
so
having...
crazy how wording works, because it doesn't even click to me. It's the same thing. It's like, what the hell is he talking about? But when I was like, liquid, lending, wow, this is makes
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I think the idea of big picture, this proposal, if implemented well, I think one, blockchain addresses, I think linking it to an ID as opposed to an address makes more sense, because like addresses like are disposable kind of thing. Like it's not, it doesn't make sense from linking it to an address, like maybe to a DID or something makes more sense. And yeah, so big picture, I think this implemented in a way that is central to an identity, to a human being, but in a way that is not about getting people to believe that, hey, like the world cannot go around without debt, like to actually be enabling, enabling. I think that makes more sense. Right. We're making some progress. The tabs are decreasing. Okay, yeah. Do you wanna read this one then?
Me.
Yeah.
Cardano media projects. There is a problem with media in general, and with crypto media in particular. A lot of fake news, biases, lack of research, etc. I kind of agree, because I know there are bad ones, but I just don't look at them. I have only few sources. But maybe that's the problem. Solution: create and distribute content, video programs, and then text versions based on them. So kind of goes back to the podcast, but it's not. It's like more of everything. Create and distribute content. So but this is not like aggregating that stuff. Like, there is still gonna be fake news, there is still gonna be biases. This is a problem, and we're not gonna do anything about it. We're just gonna add more quality, at least hopefully more quality, and distribute.
Okay. Yeah, no. The way I understood this is that this is the individual who is going to be creating and distributing content, not creating an engine for creation and distribution of content. Does that make sense? So in looking at it that way, the problem is actually not solved, because part of the problem of bias and lack of research and, I suppose, fake news, which is subjective, right, to a certain extent, has to do with centralization, right? The reason why mass media lean in a particular political side is because they're receiving funding from a particular donor who says say this, right? So centralization is a problem. So I feel like if the solution, I think the idea here, yes, media, we learn through stories, and media is super important to that. And so if we figure out how to actually create an environment where creation and distribution of content is decentralized, right? With the ability to then gain insight into how to weigh stuff like trust stuff, whether it's proof of merit, etc., that then starts to solve this problem. And big picture, that is really huge.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is me. Cardanians propose funding of CardanoJournal.com. I feel like, have we read this one?
No, it's similar.
Okay, yeah.
Before it first, IO.
Yeah, Cardano Scan, yes. Okay, so Cardano, yeah, exactly. It's really similar. Problem statement. Funding for the CardanoJournal.com project. There's a bit of a weird sentence to end on. Funding for the CardanoJournal.com project. It is. Let me actually start. It is an experiment regarding the rewarding of the community for content creation. Describe your solution to the problem. We would like to pay the chief editor and the authors of the content.
I'm sorry, we are already doing it. We chose, and I'm not sure. Did we choose it?
It's interesting here because like Cardano Journal, like is are you presenting yourself as a like a journal, like a scientific journal? Are you like analyzing, say for example, the Cardano scientific papers being submitted to different journals and how they appear in context, or are you just talking about journal as in like a diary kind of thing? Because like those two things offer up very different.
I totally misread it then, because I thought like he's gonna read like anybody and then decide does he pay him or not.
Wait, say that a different way.
In a different way?
Yeah.
No,
like how you understand this proposal?
Like somebody puts out like piece of paper and or whatever podcasts or text, and they kind of like, hey, look at this, and is it good content, and they decide if it's good and then pay for it. Like, oh, that's actually valuable, you get 100 ADA. Oh, that's even more valuable, you get 200 ADA. But it's like centralized. But this maybe because you had a totally different view, so I guess.
yeah. Again, it goes back to communication and interpretation, right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. I understand what you mean. Sort of like a curator, right? Yeah, but I feel like this is basically, it's like a magazine, but it's online, and as I said, chief editor and the authors of the content, basically it's like a crypto blog.
That makes sense. Because when you started talking, that made more sense. Then I started reading again, and then you said, say what you thought that first impression was, and then I just explained it.
So it's not entirely clear what is it just another crypto blog, or by the use of the word journal, are you referring to like much like heftier, loftier sort of publications and dissemination or breaking that down? So big picture, I think the idea of creating more trust in information is important, and if you can figure out a way to actually incentivize that, yes, that would be it would definitely be of value to the community. We have seen this. Okay, so wait, who's reading this?
ERC, Smart Contracts Converter. Ooh, I think we have it. Together with Datum, we want to build a standardized converter from Ethereum-based ERC smart contracts to the Cardano-based smart contracts. Presently, there is no tool in the Cardano ecosystem which will enable smooth and fast transition from EVM-based blockchains. I don't know what is Ethereum virtual machine-based, I guess, blockchains and SC. I don't know what is that. But there is, or no? Or what? Am I missing something? Like, are these some kind of different? Smart contracts.
Smart contracts is SC, I think. So that's one part of the puzzle solved. Proposals should not be puzzles that people need to solve. Yeah, so SC smart contract. Okay, so together, with this other they want to convert smart contracts to the Cardano based smart contract. Yeah, I agree with you in that this already exists in the ERC20 converter, which most likely is going to, we're going to get others, like the NFTs are, is it 320, whatever number ERC NFTs are, I think we'll be able to get other ERC converters, given that we have 20 already, which is the most popular one. Yeah, I'm not entirely sold on
anything. Yeah, or maybe we're just misunderstanding, but yeah, this is what we going like when you like as imagine somebody. I have been in like blockchain and have read something and I got some kind of idea, but imagine going through all of this in a one go. Not possible. My mind is already like
fried. Exactly. Yeah.
And then you have to puzzle these things too. What they mean. What like and then you're like, oh, but you're not reading the entire thing. You're only reading the problem and the statement. You don't get anything from that. You have to go to the detail. Then you get the idea. But my God, if we would have done all the details and all of that stuff, we will be in a 10th proposal.
If we're lucky, 10th.
And
I think
you
like
don't
6th.
even get like the voting ends before we get to finish.
Yeah, because we're close to like 6 hours now, right? And anyway, exactly. And usually, like, we're not going to get this long to vote, right? Once the 6-week thing gets going, it's going to just be a week to vote.
You think?
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. I mean, unless I got, really the wrong end of the stick. I think the reason why we have so long to vote now is because of, all the delays that have happened, in terms of FUND2, because we've just got started. After that, it's going to be, like week 6, that's going to be the voting week. And then after that...
Actually, it would make sense to be rapid because
you
already get the instructions. You're going to be like, oh, I like this idea, because it's... we're doing a bit differently because people are not supposed to vote for everything. We just go over everything in a very, very over-realistic way.
No, So it was, So basically, what you're saying is people are going to have like a surface level understanding of these proposals. Yeah, I agree. So actually, an important point to make here or to highlight is, this proposal was made on the 30th of September. At this point in time, this statement is true. Presently, there is no tool in the Cardano ecosystem which enables a smooth and fast transition from EVM-based blockchains and smart contracts. This was true. Right now, it is not true.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
so I think,
but even then, it like you knew it from January.
Yeah, that it was coming. Yeah, true. Yeah.
But I guess we didn't know that when in which of the Gogen launch it will have, and it was pretty much the first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Cool. But I was going to add something else. Because you said something quite.
I think we have to add it to the closing thoughts again. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Unless it has to do something with the proposal.
Okay. Cool. No. I think it did. I think it did have something to do with the proposal with what you just said, and it was actually quite important. But okay, maybe it will come to me. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Is this me or you?
It is somebody. Cardano Mobile App. Problem: developers and business need a communication platform that delivers what they need for adoption. Solution: what is the problem? Need communication platform, but we have already communication platforms. Okay, so I guess we need more of them. Problem: Cardano Mobile will consolidate the information being provided from various sources into one place and inform developers and business. only one business, not many, only one. Select
Developers, but business. Cool. Yeah. Go ahead. Do you want to give initial thoughts, or should I go first?
Actually, I would want to see that. I have seen this guy or like saying, hey, I have this in my application. I have this and I have this, and I really want to see what it has, because I do sometimes have a problem finding these things, and I would like a tool to recognize that I know that when I go in this category, I find these things. If I go there, I find these things. But yeah, it's like everything we speak, that it's kind of a centralized thing, and if he's gonna run it, it has to be somehow open source, and it's not mentioned here. Yeah, it depends how it build out, because right now I feel like he's creating the stuff, and so yeah, it depends. Right now, I just have like information everywhere, but I'm used to, like, if I want to talk to somebody, it's in a Discord. If I want some specific information, I or announcements, I go to Telegram. If I want to talk with key persons, I have email or Telegram. If I want to see proposals, I go to Descale. And if I want to like overview of proposals, I go to Google Drive for now.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. The intention here is actually quite valuable, right? Information overload is a thing, and to be informed, you need a way that is not cognitively taxing in order to actually make the best decision, right? Actually, I remember what I was going to say before, which actually links to this. Right now, we have a lot of time to vote, right? But it's just 78 proposals. When we only have a week to vote with what's going to end up being hundreds of proposals, it cannot be this much information per proposal. It just can't. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we're going to have less time, and the proposals are going to be way, like, they're going to keep on increasing. So this is a problem that needs to be addressed, but decentralization has to be at the core of it, as you said. Excuse me. Whew. Yeah. Anything to add?
Bless you.
Thank you. Okay, cool. So that was Cardano Mobile App. Okay, so Beaver. Bloody hell, why am I sneezing so much? Seriously. Okay. Okay, so Beaver, start. Decentralized multiplayer role-playing game. Problem: the Cardano blockchain is not widely adopted, and there needs to be leading examples of how to apply decentralized apps on it. Solution: we propose a simple turn-based multiplayer role-playing game whose game rules and assets are governed entirely by blockchain metadata. My first thought here is how, because with games you need to think of latency, right? And games are usually quite heavy in terms of the assets, etc. So would this be off-chain, requiring like the game to ping off-chain data and bring it on-chain in time for it to be presented into the... Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I most likely it's gonna be off-chain, but I have read about it, and it's actually a text-based game, so it's not like you're gonna get some like crazy assets. You're just gonna have hi, and then you get the response, like maybe probably more complex than that, but yeah, text-based, but it's a game, so.
Okay. Yeah. Then in that case, yeah, that's a lot lighter. You can even do it in the in the web browser kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, big picture with this, I think. Yeah, it makes sense to explore ideas like role playing games in multiplayer, as your proposal was suggesting. Yeah, because as I said, gaming is so fundamental. Like, we're gonna be we learn through stories / games, incentives and all that.
This looks more technical than my version, because my version was to make more like a story, but you have the blockchain elements, like the background is just
like NFTs.
Yeah, but here it's more of like
it lives on the blockchain.
Yeah, because you have to like understand pretty much you have to explore it, and you have to deploy it, and then you have to transact it with it, and you when you build it, then you get the sense of like but now there's a difference when I because here is like you propose a simple turn-based multiplayer RPG, like you play it, but you don't make it. So there is a difference. So only the creators of this RPG can get the knowledge of how all this works and how do you.
True, unless they open source their code, so so someone could just come along and like create a variation of it, which I would assume they would. But the distinction is quite important. As you said, your implementation was you create like a console equivalent of a game which has some assets which live on the blockchain, right? So like say like in an NFT, non-fungible token state, whereas this actually lives and sort of functions quite fundamentally on the blockchain. So next one, is this me or you?
I don't remember. Decentralized cloud platform. Problem. IT infrastructure services are becoming hyper-consolidated over the past 10 years since the word cloud entered the common vocabulary. Solution. D-Cloud, decentralized cloud using DLT. I should know that word, but oh my god.
Decentralized ledger technology.
Oh, then I didn't know that word.
Although it's like decentralized ledger technology.
And Cardano will empower everyone, individuals and large enterprise alike, to provide cloud services. I thought it's like download and some technology. But okay, yeah, whatever. So where was I?
You read to the end. Provide cloud services, I believe. Yeah, individuals and large enterprises.
What is different? Yeah, this is something very technical. Again, what is difference between decentralized cloud and current cloud? So I assume right now with the cloud, we know there is like a centralized database, Azure, Amazon, just the huge places, and decentralized clouds are pretty much IO have a hard drive, you have a hard drive, and then somebody puts a picture on it, then some part of hash can be in my, but it's a blockchain, so you kind of everybody has that picture.
There are multiple like places where it would be safe. It's a bit like torrent basically, where if you have the file, you're then basically sort of giving a little bit of it, and it makes sense to have many people have, or at least a few people have the file, because if they're not online, or if their system gets damaged or something, there are copies of it elsewhere, kind of thing. So I think the idea here is actually quite valuable, and projects like Filecoin and IPFS, like that you're talking about earlier, have implemented this in storage as well, or STRG, or the weird way that they've decided to name their project. This is really quite valuable, and I think enabling, like it's a bit like it's doing for Airbnb, it's doing for a computer, hard disk space, what Airbnb did for people's houses, right? It's going from being a liability to a certain extent to being an asset which people can actually make monetize, basically.
I think it's actually a good idea, because I'm not sure if the stake pool operators, do they use the entire computing base, but what happens with their RAM? Like you have a big machine, what is running, can you just store like add the SSDs there and be like, okay, now I'm part of this network too, and like have like double functionality?
I believe so.
So
yeah, I mean that would make a lot of sense to do basically. Right. So yeah. So big picture, this is actually quite valuable. The nature of the future of information storage and access ought to be decentralized and incentivized.
sounded like bread and butter, but yeah.
Incentivized and decentralized.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So RP Hair proposes Weblinks to Stakepools and portfolios. Problem: the Cardano ecosystem has no way to generate or send links pointing directly to Stakepools or pool lists, either for sharing or delegation. This is true. Solution: link pool names and weighted lists of Stakepools portfolios into Cardano wallets and delegation tools from anywhere on the internet.
Oh, so you mean like, hey, you don't give the ticker name, you give like a link and.
Yeah, it makes sense actually, and this is something which I personally actually have thought about, and I reached out to Sebastian actually and asked him about it, and he said that they're actually working on it, because I was like, hey, is it possible to like, or no, is it possible, like it would be nice to actually have like deep links, you know how on mobile you've got deep links which can interact from a web browser, and open up an app, a native app kind of thing. So such functionality, actually being able to implement it for pools, etc., is actually quite rich. So that's actually something that's being implemented, and if this person wants to pursue it, and I'll be all for it, because being able to link to anywhere and anything kind of thing, I think is a future big picture, and that then creates value, because stuff is interconnected, right, on from a web browser standpoint, so on the web, and also off like on in native applications and everywhere else, in any other future environment. Go on.
If we can do this, that you put web links to the delegation, then it kind of opens up like a fast road to the going into the smart contracts, going into the voting, like because they are all kind of same thing. If I'm not.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can create like a link which will take you to an environment to actually vote, and not just vote, but vote for a particular person kind of thing, or a link to a particular interface for a smart contract, where it's like, oh, come and bet on this particular thing, and you tap on it, it takes you opens up an interface which actually presents what it said, like with a vote button on it, right, from a link kind of thing. So yeah, cool. Next, this is you.
Nice picture. Developer acquisition campaign. Problem: marketing alone may not reach all potential developers. Direct cold contacting is an effective way to broaden reach. Yeah, I feel so. That's why every company I kind of know has that one guy who calls. And solution: lead a small team of sales professionals to pitch Cardano to potential developers, focusing on dev awareness and onboarding. That's a giver to me. Yeah. It feels like very like a robust way, but actually this is very effective. When I when I see company statistics who do these kind of things, I see like, what the hell are these sales numbers? Oh, but we directly call them your personal, and that actually works. And I think it would make sense to like go to the developer who are already doing the work on a different place. He doesn't have time to like go through, and he sees these advertisements and stuff, but they don't just reach to him. But when you get these literal cold calls, this actually might change their mind.
Okay, it's interesting. We have very different perspectives on cold calling and in ways. Yeah, and I think a lot of people, things like robocalls, like have become so spammy and a nuisance that companies are getting fined for it, because it is harassment basically. Yeah. So personally, my initial instinct on this is centralized and it doesn't scale, and not for good reason. Human touch, I completely agree with what you said, right? Me proposing something to you, right? Because it's one human talking to another human, right? Without sort of salesy pitch type stuff, is valuable, right? Because this in a way is a bit like the sending a bit of money for a question to be answered kind of idea. So to me, an implementation of this big picture that I think would work quite well and be quite valuable is creating a way that enables people in a sort of good sort of incentive structured way, as opposed to in a centralized lead a small team of sales professionals. Like, create an engine to enable folks to sort of gather around and sort of create different teams who could specialize in particular stuff.
Yeah, it has to be more decentralized than centralized, because the way when I imagine cold calls are not like, hey, we have this thing, come join us, but more like, I know you have boiled this thing, you're doing very good job here, but here is one more platform. When you do it, you can do the same thing here and you have a double revenue. Like these kinds of, like, giving a very focused thing where they don't have to, like, I don't know how I'm gonna build it. Like they already have the solution, but not in the same language.
Yeah,
or the same platform.
I completely agree.
And you need like having probably there are people, salesperson, who can sell anything, but it's better that you are also an expert about what the other person is doing.
Exactly. Yeah. And you have insight, like in terms of what they have done historically as well. I'm not sure whether this is me or you.
Yeah,
I think
you.
I think it's me, right? Yeah. So Pritesh, Kaizen Crypto Cardano Podcast. So another podcast. Problem. Developers that bring value to Cardano need a way to explain their ideas. We need a platform to stay updated with Goguen, Voltaire, etc. Solution: create content that promotes discussion. The community can demo their projects and ideas to a wider audience. Grow awareness and adoption. Thoughts?
Yep. General podcast. We had, I think, something already. Big Bay, I think, did the same thing. And demo their projects and ideas. I guess putting a face on it is like same thing. Yeah. Podcast, fine thing. Yeah, and it just, we give you once, show me you don't come back. Kind of stuff.
Sustainable.
Yep.
Yeah. So my thoughts on this is, I think, again, like I've said with every other podcast so far, is it needs to be, I suppose worst case scenario, you have to present how you're going to be sustainable, right? Most of them don't really actually like address this in in the problem statement. They just say, okay, there's a problem, and without actually highlighting the inefficient and unsustainable nature of podcasts. Right, because there's a huge sort of escape velocity there. So yeah, there's that. On the upside, yeah, communication, presenting demos, etc. Like, yeah, that makes sense to actually to have, basically. This is you. So KXP, go for it.
Cardano Swift SDK. Problem. There are no open source Swift SDKs for interacting with the Cardano blockchain for Apple OS infrastructure. Okay, so Swift is some kind of Apple framework.
Yeah, a programming language, yeah.
Solution. Cardano Swift SDK is an open source solution for interacting with Cardano blockchain using Swift as Objective-C. So Objective-C is like C++, C#, and all this stuff?
Yeah, basically sort of like an object-oriented, I believe, derivation of it. Yeah. So yeah, go on.
Yeah, well, quite, I'd say, yeah, this is like a simple, there is a program, he sees it, and he has a solution, and so I'm like, okay, you put this, and you put this, and like 1 + 1 is 2, okay, yes, like I shouldn't say what, but it makes sense, and now it, yeah, I don't know, I don't know much what more to say about, like, this is like, you want to build, when you want to put on another framework, you need like these SDKs, and libraries to do the coding, and it's missing. So you building the bridge so you build that one-time bridge that you don't have to like do the
repeat work again and again.
What is that?
Interoperability.
Yeah, or different word, but yeah, same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so actually let me just pause this. Okay, cool. Yeah, my initial thing here is the K framework at some point will sort of will solve this problem to some extent. Where you're going to be able to actually just like directly write in Swift, but then additionally having an SDK, which really, which has say particular libraries or particular actions as a group, which you can just quickly reference inside of your iOS application or Apple TV or whatever Mac app, would be of value. And yeah, I like the fact that it's open source, etc.
About this, actually, there is one thing. I don't know. I don't know how voters actually act to this, because some people don't understand. They say no, but this is something very technical that everybody who don't understand should actually vote for abstain, because I should do that too, because we want to see how many people want it and how many people know what it is and see is it really needed, because it's a very specific thing for Apple OS infrastructure. So everybody who wants to do something for there should be the voters. But yeah, we can't like actually say that and you have to have this credential. And
a quick thing that I was gonna say that I almost forgot actually is right now at current at moment of recording this, Apple has Apple is a weird company, right? So at the moment it is in court with Epic Games over one of the things that they're fighting over is basically Epic Games introduced their own currency, right? Epic Games, they're the makers of Fortnite, right? They introduced their own currency in the game, and this became one of the big contentious points, right? So Apple is very very protective, oddly, with it's become very valuable because of the protectiveness, but at the same time it is important to understand that they're not particularly open to like new stuff. So, a Cardano SDK
Yep.
might, they might be like, yeah, no, we don't want that. So that's just something to keep in mind. But however, having said that, big picture, interoperability is quite important, and software development kits, which is what SDK stands for, is a way to basically allow for more interoperability, because it's a thing which you add into your app, and then it's able to basically talk to different functions, in this case different functions of the Cardano protocol and network, etc.
Yeah, you brought up a good point actually. What if we are connected with Apple? We have like all kind of people are making games there, like lending application, all this stuff, and at one point Apple gonna like smash a load to everybody, or like say that, hey, you don't pay taxes, you have to 30% all of your revenue come to us. And like a lot of people are gonna be, no, like what the heck, this is my living, and this is what sustains my network to even, and I can't give that away, or I will be closing my app. Then yeah, sure, go close your app. It's gonna be a bad discussions, and at some point it's already a bad taste for us, kind of, if it's gonna get like Apple versus Cardano developers. It's just I know any press is good press, but sometimes you don't want like the new age people who don't understand blockchain. They'd be like, oh my god, again some kind of gambling stuff. They most likely gonna push this more of these like things up and say, no, again some kind of gambling stuff again with the blockchain, and it kind of suppress the overall community, like, well, not overall blockchain things. And another thing is, if they shut it, then it's gonna be like close all the apps. It cannot devastate the developers, disincentivize them, and disincentivize the community, and most likely a lot of bad press again about the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this is what Apple did with the Unreal Engine, or threatened to do, right? Because the Unreal Engine basically, is the engine which a lot of games are built on top of, and they were threatening to basically sort of like disable, its functionality and stuff like that. Which Unreal Engine is made by Epic Games, who make also the game Fortnite, right? So it's all interconnected, right? So yeah, so that is definitely it would have a cascading effect. But then actually a judge ruled that Apple could not do that, and that's why they couldn't do that. And so yeah, so there's that, but there's also the idea that potentially, the nature of the question of like, oh, if someone puts in something like child porn on the blockchain, right, then we then get into in terms of, say, the metadata of it. We then enter into a place where it's like, Apple can then start to be like, okay, no, like everything has to like, just because that one thing exists, and obviously because it's a blockchain, we can't go back and be like, okay, we need to get rid of it, kind of thing, right? So there's a whole slippery slope, which I think trying to integrate with Apple, it's going to be an interesting conversation. Basically, that's okay. So
we need to get people more educated first, so when it happens, the winners are not Apples, or like the already people who are comfortable with the existing infrastructure, but the people who are like,
it's
okay,
tips towards our side, basically.
But that let's now take a new mobile, and it's Cardano phone there.
Yeah, or Android, basically. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, completely agree. Okay, so is this me or you? SDK? Who are the SDK one? No, it doesn't matter. Damjan, CNTools, SBO tools and services. That's a proposal. Okay, so the problem: an unhealthy network with reduced performance due to Stakepool issues could discourage onboarding and developers from building on Cardano. I agree. Yep. People want stability, right? Okay. So Solution: tools and services to help stake pool operators set up, manage stake pools, reduces the risk of wrongly configuring pools that cause on-chain density degradation.
I don't know what that is, but seems like a bad thing.
Yeah. Chain density degradation. Basically, it's sort of like I suppose catastrophic failure, where if a bunch of pools are not configured well, then the chain density, which is the amount of I suppose the amount of pools who are present. Oh yeah, what the hell does chain density degradation mean? Yeah, well, I would.
Well, basically, I think they're making like scripts which just go through your configuration and say, "Hey, bad, good, you have missing something, or you're doing some." Yeah, I feel like that. And services is like, "Hey, yeah, we can help you," like a Spokra, like we're here to help you if you need help, so kind of thing. But they're not like governed the way they.
Yeah, with Spokra, yeah. But I feel like maybe part of Spokra is that, but yeah. So yeah. With this, the basic idea, the way I understand it, is to create stuff to help folks create or set up and manage their pools in a good way. In a way that considers security and and all sorts of stuff, and not having your private keys on your containerized environment, which is what happened with I don't know whether you recall, like in the beginning, there's someone who basically had their pledge like stolen because they implemented it wrong. So yeah, this is valuable. And so yeah, big picture, creating better tools to have stake pools be a healthy environment and have more adoption of it, I think is definitely a very good and helpful thing for the community. Dude, we're killing it. Like the tabs are now becoming bigger. Okay, so you want to read this one?
Yep. We are killing it, but we are out of time, but we're not going to make a second
Yeah,
version.
we're not. No, we're not.
Pool tool platform upgrade. Cost-based ranking methods could lead to handful. We did it.
Yeah, we've done this. Yeah. Wait, we have, huh? See? Oh, fuck. No, don't. I almost closed the wrong window.
Do you want to close all?
Exactly.
Cardano content factory. Ooh, more factories. Okay, show me.
Okay.
Problem. Content creator equals popular proposals. Proposal overwhelm drowns out tech builds. Proposal overwhelm drowns out tech builds. Wow. Okay, I'm just continue. Bots and dApps compete needlessly. What is bots?
Podcasts.
Podcast.
I think.
Solution: optimize content funding with a low-risk, KPI-driven guild. Auditing organizations, value engineer content best practices funding output. So much like wording is you're gonna be like read it again.
I agree. Yeah, because I'm reading it again and again. Value engineer
optimize content funding with low risk, KPI driven guild. Okay, we want to analyze something and we value engineer content best practices and we want to do research. Okay, and what was the problem? Popular proposals.
So content creator equals. Oh, okay. So if you could break it down, so what they're saying here is basically, people who have podcasts, etc., are the ones who end up having a popular proposals, right? So content creator equals thinking proposals, so which is a problem. Yeah, I think the community have actually established that. And then the next bit here, proposals overwhelm drowns out tech builds. Okay.
So they go in the too technical and people are just like, they don't get it.
Yeah. Wait, overwhelm. Yeah, drowns out tech builds. Yeah, so basically, I don't know. I personally I read this as proposals which are actually quite technical, basically overwhelm majority of the folks who are not technical. Does that make
Yes.
sense? Is
Yes.
that your same reading of it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Pods and dabs compete needlessly. Okay, yeah. So they're saying in this particular, from my understanding, in this particular challenge, podcasts and dab applications are competing needlessly.
This word should not be there, but okay. Like that. And
Um,
they want to just
so
do analytics
optimize.
and research to
So optimize content funding with low risk KPI driven guild. Okay, so they're saying basic content creation. Podcast is not the way. Optimizing content funding with low risk key performance indicator driven guild. So they'll create some sort of a guild which would outline the key performance indicators, which will then drive the funding and the definition of low risk.
Miguel, you're such a smart guy. What you're doing?
Auditing organization leads to
My brain is too fried to
value,
like start
to try and make sense of it. Value engineer content best practices funding output.
I already see that he's like it's like very structured way, like when you go to the deep line details and stuff, but based on problem and solution, it
Okay.
feels like it doesn't actually solve the problem. He's like, okay, it's too complicated. I'm gonna research it, and okay, maybe it does solve the problem because okay, it's too technical, and now I'm gonna curate it into a smaller form. But the way the way he self did it, his own proposal is like, I don't want you to do anything with the technical stuff.
Yeah.
And for the like the podcast is like a reverse that I'm gonna build the KPIs what you have to, which we always keep telling how you sustain it. So he's just gonna add the sustainable KPIs to the podcast that okay, can he follow these to keep it sustainable?
Yeah.
This is what I maybe get it. Maybe we just thought it up and it's something completely different.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, this whole process has been really interesting, having people who are not associated, with these. Because so far, like with the gauntlet, it's people who are working on it who come on and they're able to, tell more than is, on the proposal itself. So yeah, I think big picture, the problem of podcast and their proposals being basically a popularity contest, that's a problem. I think solving it, through like, a process which, like breaks down and sort of separates that basically, is about insight and not about, it's about quality, like information and, data, as opposed to a popularity, personality based contest kind of thing. I think that's important. In terms of the overwhelming, in terms of the technical build, etc. Auditing organization, value engineer, content best practices, funding output. So I suppose maybe my understanding is linking organizations which value engineering, like best practices. Okay, yeah, like I'm finding it really tricky
I think maybe he also, there's so many interpretations here, and maybe he also thinks that he's gonna like guide them or give them like a template how to even make a business plan or whatever you're doing, and like create the project, not just like a written form, but like a structured way. But yeah. I think just skip. Let's go.
Yeah, but I mean, big picture, basically, the idea that content is important in terms of structuring it and communicating value that is not like, hey, this person is popular, so listen to what they have to say. It's content, like leading the way. That's important. So big picture, that is what I think I would say on that one. So is this
Further development. Oh, I don't know.
This is you. No, yeah. I read the last one, which is, I think, super confusing.
Further development of ADApools.org. Did we have some, or maybe it's a different pool. Problem. Further development of ADApools to satisfy user, operators, and devs needs and in line with the Cardano roadmap. Describe your solution. ADApools.org is probably the most visited tool that helps delegates from the ITN. I think I used ADApools, but now we actually get in the same. We had, I don't remember the application name, but you meant proposal for the different stake pool. I think it's the same thing, but here it doesn't say what is the focus problem. He says that not satisfied enough, it doesn't say what he's gonna do. It just says good stuff, like features. We're gonna improve it, but with what? Maybe in detail it's gonna come out. But I have nothing more to really add. That more tools if you help out stake pool operators to market or connect with the delegators, it's a good thing.
Big picture, that is a good thing. I feel like I agree with what you just said, which is actually outlining, like streamlining. This is exactly what we're going to do. I feel like in terms of these type of proposals for like pools, Umed's group, I think, Pool Tool, is it Pool Tool?
I think.
To me, they've presented the best case kind of thing. So anyway, so it's important to have big picture people who are sort of creating tools, to position themselves in a way that they're able to continue doing this, communicate their value, as well as capture part of that value, which will help them be sustainable. Big picture, that's what's important there. So okay, I opened this twice, so it's the same application. I just clicked it twice, I think. Okay, so is this you or me?
You.
This is me. Okay. So, let me stop this. Start. This is Mercy. FUND2 challenge. Right. So, West Africa Decentralized Alliance. Problem statement. Despite Africa's immense opportunities, West African businesses, developers, and governments are unaware of Cardano's potential to solve local problems. Cool. Okay. Solution. Entrenched Cardano's cutting-edge solutions in the region by engaging and equipping local communities to identify and remove barriers to adoption.
This is a very big picture already. We don't have to think what is what it could explode. It just explained what is the bigger picture here.
It does. I like its specificity. In terms of Africa, sort of continentally, and then it's understanding that the potential is not understood to solve local problems. So I feel like actually, the focus, the specificity on local. Right, local problems, because that's really a value here, where we're enabling people to sort of be self-reliant and to solve their own problems, as opposed to waiting for aid from, I don't know, some other place or for other people to solve their problems. I
think this is one good example of a proposal that now you get the bigger picture and you're like, okay, they are gonna equip with something, then they're gonna find the problems, and if you're interested in West Africa, you're gonna go into the proposal and see what are their goals and ideas and roadmap of what cutting edge solutions they are gonna first look into. and hopefully we find more about that. So, yep.
Yeah, to identify and remove barriers to adoption. Yeah, because I feel like one of the cutting edge solutions would be something like identity, right, with Atala or DIDs, right? So I can imagine them like implementing that and really starting something there. Yeah. So yeah, big picture, like being able to create a format which then once it's solved, say within West Africa, it can actually be a template that can then be replicated across Africa or even across any other place. Yeah, and I was gonna speak to the value of Africa as a location, but actually I feel like that has already been touched on. But yeah, go ahead.
ABCD. Hi, I see this hot mark. Is this like every good proposal, so to say, has this?
I think they've just gone in and put fire next to the title. I don't think it's indicative of anything.
Okay. Problem statement. Opportunities for young African devs to learn at an elite level and get them everything they need to make their ideas and projects reality. Actually, I was thinking that still about the fire, because they are like kind of from the same team, but maybe not. Opportunities for young African devs. Okay, so teaching and describe your solution. African developer training, then expertise central, specializing in the development of core Cardano blockchain technologies and applications. So yeah, we have this opportunity need level. So it's an education to the work, or what? I don't know, African training. So the first they train it, and then they train it for like into worker practically. That's what I get of it.
Yeah, I feel like actually potentially this has actually evolved from a place where it was more talking about building like or renting out a physical space, like what they called these like a hub, right? It's shifted away from that to shifted to focusing on the training as opposed to the center specializing. Yeah, I mean from the beginning I've been I suppose quite critical in terms of, because of the size of the fund, and wondering, especially now with a pandemic, whether it makes sense to have projects which are like, hey, we're going to go and rent office space in this place. When say folks can actually be working online in a much more efficient way. So like that's, to me, that's like the key criticism. Yeah, but aside from that, like from a technical, like best picture, not best picture, from a big picture standpoint, Africa has the largest, I believe, young population of like, I think like under 30s or something. So actually focusing on getting more folks to be to have the technical abilities, right? And so to have that, as well as there's opportunity of a lot of problems to solve, right? From infrastructure to all sorts of other problems that can actually be solved. It's an intersection, a meeting of like really valuable stuff. So yeah, big picture, like there's a lot that can actually come from that.
Yeah, and we covered the education a lot, so
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so cut to that. Right, so this is you or me?
You.
It's me, yeah? Okay, cool. Kyle proposes IoT utility Dapp. Sign transaction Arduino. On Arduino, I'm assuming. Okay, so problem statement. There is no simple method to sign embedded Cardano transactions in C. So the program language C. We can engage developers by building an Arduino compatible library. So solution: create an Arduino integrated development environment compatible with C library to sign where am I? To sign local Cardano transactions, enable immediate applications for embedded and IoT pre-Gogan. Okay, so the issue with this is like Gogan is already like around the corner. So the delay of the fund2 coming out obviously would affect this particular, like the others which have been affected by the delay. Yeah, what do you think?
I think even after the Gogen is out, it's like,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah.
Because if I'm not wrong, the Arduinos are this small schema thing, and people can just like, ooh, what is this? They're gonna put their schema down, and then okay, I press this button, send this C code to the node, and the node will do something on chain or off chain. Like, why not? It's like an educational thing, and maybe it's gonna be like IoT thing too in the future, like IoT, like you mentioned.
Yeah. So yeah, Arduinos are used a lot in things like robots and stuff. Which is different to like a Raspberry Pi, because a Raspberry Pi is closer to like a full computer which has an operating system and all. So Arduino is like much smaller, and the functions are usually quite like simpler kind of thing. I think this is definitely a value. Like, so big picture here, Cardano tapping into IoT is huge. So I feel like actually starting out, figuring out the best way to go about that. I mean, C I think is a good starting point, and we've got to start somewhere. Once it's sort of implemented in C, we can then figure out, okay, what's the best practice to actually implement other sort of hardware implementations like FPGA implementations and that kind of a thing. Yeah, cool. So that's that, and then bringing us to a close.
Cardano for mobile Dapp developers. Okay, thank you. Problem: while mobile wallets are pretty common, mobile dApps in the app stores are still extremely rare due to the scarcity of developer tools. Or maybe because Kogan is not out. Solution: turn mobile platforms into first-class citizens of dApps. Does it mean like what? You don't need App Store for that, or okay?
Yeah. Basically, because you've got native, right? And native, like is written in Swift or Objective C, etc. And then web apps are basically like they run on the browser, written in HTML/CSS, JavaScript, and that kind of thing.
And then it says mobile SDK is mobile first app experience, app stores compatibility. Oh well. Yeah, it's even though you explained that it's what it's good for, I'm like, is it really needed? Because I'm not Android and developer. I don't know anything about like this mobile mode stuff, so I don't know what can I add.
It's really needed, and with or without us, like it's going to happen. Like basically over the few years there's been a shift over to what's called WPAs, so web bloody hell, what's it called, web
Assembly?
no progressive web apps, sorry. So it's PWA. No, I was confusing myself. Progressive web apps, so PWAs, and basically they have a lot of functionality that that native apps have. So actually, as an example, I'll quickly show you this. What the web can do what the web can do for today. So this is okay. Web can do. There we go. So what web can do just shows you, like, whatever device you go on it on, that browser, it shows you what permissions that browser can actually like talk to the phone natively, like hardware, to be able to do. So you've got so seamless experience, like offline mode. So this is on the Brave browser on a Mac. So like things like, okay, so native behavior, local notifications, it is able to to do that. Push messages, it's able to do that as well. Yeah, so all these functions which normally can only work on native apps are gradually starting to work on the web browser, right? And because on the web browser you do not need Apple or Google to say, okay, we allow you to have your app on our stores.
Okay.
Anyone can just create it, and so it will really have
then it assumes that you have to make it for the special browser.
Well,
You
yes
can't
and
just
no.
be like Firefox and works these things, and
Well, yeah. Sometimes. So like, which is why such websites are really good, or such tools, because it allows you to understand, like, across the different platforms, like what, or different browsers, what is supported. So for example, if I can find it, something like biometrics has recently, like over the last month, has now been supported on a bunch of platforms, now that iOS actually enables biometric logging in. So now on Safari you can tap on a button, say, and then it'll allow you to use your finger print with Touch ID or even Face ID to then actually authenticate, like that before you could only do it on native apps, right? Now you're able to actually do it on on the browser. So this is really huge. So yeah, whilst different features are not supported on different browsers, that is just a matter of time. As I just said, like with the example of biometric stuff that just came online on iOS. So it's really valuable. So from that standpoint, yeah, mobile SDKs, as this proposer is looking to solve, mobile SDKs, yeah, super important. It's like the Swift SDK, right? A software development kit. Mobile first Dapp experiences, exactly. So like that goes right in line with progressive web apps. And then App Store compatibility. Basically, this means whatever app you create, which is a web app, you can then be able to just put the skin of a native app. So you have basically the web app in sort of wrapped in the skin of a native app, and then you submit that to Apple, and then you have it on the App Store. So it's the best of both worlds, right? So this way you don't have to keep sending updates to Apple because it's a web app. If you change the web app stuff, it actually just updates, and yeah, stuff like that. So yeah. Any thoughts in closing for this particular thing, and then we can sort of go and sort of wrap it up?
I think we can go to the wrapping up, because cool idea. Still nothing to add because you just learned right now.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, fair point. Okay, cool. Right, so that's that. I can finally close that browser window after how long has it been? Like
this was 2 hours, I think.
This was, wait, let's see. No, 1 hour 58. Makes a difference. Okay, yeah. So yeah, do you wanna give your sort of summary thoughts?
My brain is fried.
As is mine. As is mine.
Yeah, sorry to everybody who I complained too much about your proposal. I hope some people learn to improve. I don't take it personally. It's just my opinion. Probably somebody else will vote for you. And maybe I even complained, but still vote for you, because I personally went into details. after I wanted to hear more about what you have actually say, because this was just the problem and the solution, but you also actually should look into how much they ask. So even if the education is good, you're for it, don't pay all the money for what that guy for that one proposal. Like we need to take it as a whole and see what collection of things we want to get done, and who we gonna put through the cohort of funding, and maybe even look into who are doing these like proposals. And maybe if the idea is like maybe not that impactful, or maybe but they don't ask much, and they have a potential to go somewhere, maybe this is a point when to vote. There's so many ways to look at it, so this is just one way to go over them and see how hard this process actually is. And
yeah. So I suppose for me, in summary, in a way, I second what you just said, but sort of approach it from a different angle, which is what this process has actually taught me, is that future funds, the title is super important, and the problem and the solution sentences are really important, because majority of people won't have the time, especially with increased proposals, right? This is probably going to be the smallest round in the history of Catalyst, right? The next one is probably going to be more than 100, and then 203, and then so on. So the voters don't have that much time, right? So we need to figure out, first and foremost, from a base level, the proposals themselves need to succinctly communicate with the title and the problem and the solution, and then after that, we can figure out better ways to actually like engage. Like for example, in Fund 3, the idea is to have the proposers come on from week 1, and have like 10 minutes with them, and have face to face human connection, as you said, that's valuable. Come on and talk through your your problem and your statement, kind of thing, in a way where the audience can follow your story, right, from week 1 to week 2 to week 3 to week 4, so that once and 5, so when it comes to week 6 and the voting, they already have got a sense of who you are, and your knowledge and the problem that you're solving, etc. And are more informed, that they don't need to then take time out within that 1 week to then like scroll through a whole bunch of text of over 100 different proposals. So just information, like vetting or sifting through information, super important. And the place to start, right, for anyone in Fund 3 and onward, is just to understand the importance of these 3 things: the title, problem, and solution. Sentences need to be really like thought out, and you need to have all these sort of aspects in there. Moving forward, I think it will make sense for me to just again come back to this and maybe create like a cheat sheet, in terms of how what the best kind of format of a sentence for the problem statement should be. Like, okay, dedicate a part of it to I don't know, to this part of the problem, and that kind of thing, or even the title itself, right? Just like a breakdown, which I think would be helpful. So with that, we shall be going back and sort of time stamping this, and I'll probably go in and like create clips from this again to try and disseminate it out and give both future proposers an idea of how to approach this. Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I was thinking like more adding like what we actually learned here. What I did was, when creating like the proposals, then what for me, what was easy if the problem was focused on one thing, not like and this, it was dragging, and not cryptic. Don't do like arrow stuff, cancellation, like don't like say a word and then try to explain the word and go on.
A tangent.
Yep. So yeah, these things are very complicated, and if it's gonna be complicated, they have one voting app, they just gonna scroll it over, and when they catch your eye, it's a good. And if they get to your idea scale platform and to read about details, it's a win.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, future guys, just keep all of this in mind. With that said, thank you very much for the 1 or 2 people who actually joined us. Hopefully more will actually, gain this similar insights from the rewatching and the sort of the clips that will come from this. Cool. Thank you very much. And we are out.